The Cloud Sync Helpdesk UI is a web-based interface that allows helpdesk staff retrieve information about the Cloud Sync service and its users. Access to the UI is granted at two levels: administrators and assistants. Administrators have access to all of the functionality of the UI. Assistants' access is more limited. The video you're about to see shows an account with administrator access. The UI is accessed by connecting to the URL provided and entering a username and password. The initial screen presented to the user when they log in shows 4 tabs in the top left of the screen. The Cloud Sync Users tab, which is the main view, allows the helpdesk user to search for any users on the system and view their configuration and history. The Profiles tab contains information about the different profiles provisioned on the service. Profiles are collections of settings which can be applied to users. The settings include system access settings, like the application syncing is allowed for, or the maximum number of devices a user can have, and security settings configured for devices, which allow IT departments implement defined security policies which the device must follow, like whether the user must configure a password and the length of the password. The System tab allows administrators to configure the default action for auto-provisioning and the default profile setting for auto-provisioned users. The Helpdesk Users tab allows administrators to add new administrators or assistants to the system. This tab is not visible to assistant-level users. Within the Helpdesk UI, any text fields will have an associated tooltip, which will provide an explanation of what is expected in that text field. You will also see a refresh button at the top of each page, which will allow you to refresh the data on the page you are currently viewing. To search for a user, enter their username in the search bar and click on the magnifying glass icon. You can also use star as a wildcard. Due to the overhead it places on the data store, you should avoid using wildcards if at all possible. If the user you are searching for has not yet used the Cloud Sync service, but is provisioned on the back-end MirrorPoint server, you will be shown their email address and whether or not they will be allowed to be auto-provisioned. You can change the auto-provisioning result to block or allow this user. You cannot use wildcards in a search for an unprovisioned user. The user information screen is divided into 3 tabs. The first tab is the User Details tab. This tab shows the user ID, the user's email address and state, which is either enabled or disabled, and their last activity information. It also shows the profile the user is assigned to. User details can be edited by clicking on the pen icon. The User Edit screen allows the profile to be changed and a log point to be added. Log points are used to record actions taken against particular accounts, which can then be viewed by other helpdesk users who may access this user account later. To save the changes, click on the button with the disk icon, or to discard, click the X button. The Devices tab exposes information about all of the devices owned by the user under review. Individual devices can be viewed by selecting them from the drop-down list. When a device has been selected, the device screen will show the device identifier, the name of the device, whether the device is enabled or disabled, and the remote wipe status. Remote wipe allows the administrator to remotely delete all of the information on a device in case it is lost or stolen. Support for this functionality is device dependent. The remote wipe will happen the next time the device connects to the service, and in the meantime the administrator can cancel it. The Devices tab also shows the next sync type. The first time a sync is done between the server and a device, all address, calendar, and email data from that server is copied to the device. Thereafter, only changes that have been made since the last sync are transmitted. Clicking the refresh button allows the administrator to force the system to do a complete refresh of the server data onto the device the next time the device connects to the system. Note that this operation will create new mail, calendar, and address books on the device. At the bottom of the device screen, the results of the last sync performed by this device are shown. This information contains the data that was synced, which will either be email, events, tasks, or contacts, the time and date of the sync, how many records were added, replaced, deleted, or found to be errors on both the server and on the device. You can remove any device by selecting it and clicking the Remove button next to the device identifier. Removing the device does not prevent the user from using the device in future. It simply removes the associated sync state. If you wish to prevent the user from using the device in future, the device should be disabled. The History tab allows you to view information about sync events in more detail. Again, you are presented with a drop-down list of all devices configured for the user. When you select a device, you are shown a view of all sync activity for that device. You can select the columns to be displayed in the sync history page, and you can sort the data based on the sync time, the item ID, the data type, the operation, the direction of the operation, or the result of the operation. You can filter based on the sync type, the sync direction, and the sync result. Filters can be cleared by clicking the Options button at the bottom of the screen. You can also use the box at the bottom right of the screen to select all sync activity for a particular date. Dates with no sync activity recorded are grayed out. The Profile screen allows administrators to view, edit, and delete the profiles provisioned on the system, and to create new profiles. Assistants can view existing profiles, but cannot create, edit, or delete them. Administrators can configure the following information: the name of the profile, the applications members of this profile can sync data against, the maximum number of devices members with this profile applied can configure, the action to take if the user adds more than the allowed number of devices. This can either be to block the new device or to remove the oldest device. Whether or not direct push is enabled. If direct push is disabled, the client will not be notified of any changes on the server until the device connects to the server. Whether or not deleted emails will be included in email sync operations. Whether data should be encrypted on the device or not. The device idle timeout. This is the time in seconds that a device can be idle for before a password is required to unlock it. Whether or not a password is required for the device. If a password is required, the administrator can set the following options: whether an alphanumeric password is required or whether non-alphanumeric characters must be used. Whether or not a simple password can be used. A simple password is one which consists of sequential or repeating characters, for example ABCD or 1111. The password minimum length. The maximum amount of invalid passwords that may be entered before the phone is locked for a period of time or wiped. The amount of time in days after which a password must be changed. the amount of previous passwords to be stored. A password stored in history cannot be reused. And finally, whether the direct push operation is allowed when the user is roaming. New profiles can be added by clicking the plus icon, deleted by clicking the trash can icon, or edited by clicking the pen icon. You can create a copy of a profile by selecting the profile on the left pane and clicking the Add button. When you are finished editing, you can click the button with the disk icon to save changes or the X button to discard changes. From the System screen, administrators can configure auto-provisioning options. The options available for configuration are the default action to be taken on users who are not explicitly blocked or allowed, and the default profile to assign users to. You can also configure the services that the user must be provisioned for on the MirrorPoint server before they can be provisioned on the Cloud Sync service, and the default user profile setting that auto-provisioned users will be assigned to. Click on the pen icon to edit the settings. When you are finished editing, click on the button with the disk icon to save, or the X button to discard your changes. The Helpdesk User screen allows administrators to view a list of all administrator and assistant users on the system. This screen is only available to administrators. Assistants will not see the Helpdesk Users tab. From this screen, new administrators and assistants can be added. You can search for Helpdesk users from the search box at the top left of the screen. Once a Helpdesk user has been selected, they can be edited. The Edit screen allows you to change the user's password or role. You can also delete users from this screen. New Helpdesk users can be added by clicking the Add button. When adding a new user, enter their username, password, and user role. When you are finished, you can click the button with the disk icon to save, or the X button to discard changes. To log out of the Helpdesk UI, click the power icon at the top right of the screen.